Do you remember this game? Minecraft Story Mode, the full story explained in just 20 minutes. Ready, set, go. Water, earth, air, sorry, wrong show. Redstone, adventure, fighting, and this guy. These are the things that comprise of the Order of the Stone. Basically, it's a little Minecraft boy band who were legends that slayed the Ender Dragon. These guys will be important in just a second, so keep them in mind. Our story begins with us, Jesse. We're a doofus that lives in a tree with our friends Olivia, Axel, and our pet pig, Ruben. We want to enter a building competition, so we make ourselves a plan, and as we're coming over here, we discover a classic rival team, Lucas and the Ocelots, and they hate Jesse. They hate him so much that they call his group
"In the Order of the Losers."
Regardless, Jesse and his team finish building, and hey, that's better than what I can build at least. But this guy, Aiden, he doesn't like this build. Therefore, he tries to turn Ruben into dinner, prompting Ruben to run off into the distance. Jesse, being a responsible pet owner, decides to chase after his pet pig. Long story short, they get jumped by the Byzantine Empire, and we get introduced to Petra. All we know about her is that she wants to trade a wither skull for a diamond, which is quite literally the most shittiest trade ever. I know for sure she failed her economics class. Well, now it's finally time to go into that dark alley to exchange the goods. Here in this alley, we meet another dude. His name is Ivor. But Ivor here is a scammer. He pulls the most ultimate scammer gets scammed moment and trades a piece of lapis in place of a diamond for that wither skull. Ivor proceeds to start running like Usain Bolt in the 2009 Olympics and ends up running away to a secure area guarded by an usher. After finding a way inside of the secret area, we find a secret lever which promptly opens, revealing 2 wither skulls. You and I both know where this is going. Now, this is a massive problem as Gabriel, the Minecraft legend himself, is pulling up to this festival. So naturally, we confront Ivor. But guess what? It's too late. Ivor spawns a wither, but guess what? This isn't just any wither. This is a wither on crack. I mean, there's a command block, so don't try this in Minecraft. It doesn't work. I've tried it, but anyway, this massive command block is absorbed with the wither, creating the wither storm, aka wither on crack. So Ivor runs the hell away, and so do we. There's no chance that we can solo this thing, so Gabriel suggests that we go back to his fortress. So we leave the village completely and set out for Gabriel's temple, which after nearly dying, we end up making it. We go inside of the obsidian chamber and we have to light a portal to get out of here to safety. Gabriel knows he can't do this on his own, so our next step commences. Find the other members of the Order of the Stone. Gabriel gives us an amulet and it basically points in the direction of the other members. But unfortunately, as we try to save Petra and Gabriel, they are stuck behind as we get thrown into the portal. Well, at least we're in the Nether now. I guess we should be safe. Oh god damn it. Long story short, the wither storm destroys any chance to get back into the overworld, and now we have to traverse the Nether with Ivor. The only way out is through a little minecart railing built by the Order of the Stone. So after some traversing, we safely make our way to another portal. This leads us to a plains biome where a temple is nearby. One thing we learn on the way is that Ivor is actually one of the members of the Order of the Stone, but was kicked out. So now with this amulet, it's time to find the other members of the Order. So let's start with the griefer guy, Magnus. The boys, and Pig, arrive at Boomtown, which is basically a village for trolls. It's just us, Axel, and Ruben here, while the other few are waiting for Petra back at the portal. After casually witnessing manslaughter and Jesse reenacting the John Wick movie, we eventually survive long enough to get to Magnus's tower. They use some talk no jutsu on his ass to convince him to save the world, and eventually he agrees. But remember our old friend, Wither on Crack? Well, he's back and he's in Boomtown, and kiss it goodbye because he's hungry. So Jesse and everyone else retreat back to the temple to meet up. So that's 2 members down and there's 2 to go. The next person up is Ellegard, the redstone expert. Olivia, Jesse, and Ruben go together to another portal in the Nether, which leads them to Redstonia, the city of engineering. These stairs lead up to Ellegard, but like anything in the city, it's controlled by redstone. And unfortunately for us, the circuit that activates these stairs requires a repeater, which we don't have. So we can either craft it like a good guy, or we can also steal it from somebody. Either way we slice it, the stairs are now fixed. We press down on a lever, and just like that, the doors open. And after navigating Ellegard's facility, we can now find her in her dome of concentration, which is basically just Ellegard telling us she's severely locked in. But something's telling me that she hasn't been locked in enough, because she has spent 6,451 attempts trying to craft a command block, and somebody please tell her that it's only possible through /give. So Jesse, Ruben, and Olivia promise to help her create a command block if she returns with the rest of the order. But before we can do that, our best friend, Wither on Crack, is back again, and he doesn't like that we're trying to make a command block. So we have to escape back to the Nether and make it back to the temple. Back at the temple, Magnus and Ellegaard start beefing as they talk about a dude part of the Order of the Stone called Soren, who's been missing and we can't locate him using our amulet. Apparently, Soren is Oppenheimer himself and created a bomb that could destroy anything, called the F-bomb. Somehow, Soren's location is now on the map, so our new goal is to find him. But not so fast, because Ivor is also going there. He is technically part of the Order, so our goal is to stop him before he gets to the hideout. It's at this point that the squad arrives at Soren's temple, but not for long as Ellegaard and Magnus start beefing again and go their separate ways. We now choose who we want to go with, and depending on who you go with, Gabriel or Petra will tell you privately that they have some sort of weird wither illness because of the wither storm. As everyone is talking, a creeper blows up behind them and reveals a tunnel. It's in this tunnel that we find Ivor. Gabriel or Petra shows up and we all duke it out with swords and potions. Eventually, everyone shows up here, but it's no use, as Ivor splashes a slowness potion on everyone and continues running. His new goal is to kill Magnus or Ellegaard. Well, that sucks, but Jesse and company still need to find a way to find Soren. It's practically our only hope at this point. So using the amulet, we find out that Soren is somewhere underground. So naturally, as anyone would, they fracture their metacarpals trying to dig downwards. We find a dank tunnel that leads to a mob grinder, and as creepers flood in, we end up dropping the amulet again. So after retrieving it, we actually end up slipping on water, but no problem because we have plot armor, because a creeper blows up in time to save us. It's at this place that we see an end portal, and once we get inside, we see a bunch of endermen towards Soren's base. However, despite that, we're able to make it to Soren's base. Long story short, we find a secret door that leads us actually inside of his house. So inside of Soren's house is a record player that documents his findings in the end. He seems to be training endermen. Jesse actually finds an enderman suit himself and puts it on. He must have not learned anything from the FNAF videos, but putting on this enderman outfit, we decide to go outside to explore a little bit. It's at this point where the endermen start to get really pissed now, and one actually ends up knocking us out. However, on closer inspection, we realize that this is actually a person inside of an enderman suit. This is Soren, and he kinda hates us, but once we show him our amulet, he starts to understand us a little better. So, Soren agrees to help us, and once everyone is assembled in the same area, some endermen teleport inside of the base, and we have to navigate our way out of the house back into the overworld. Now that we're back at Soren's mob grinder, we take some loot needed to craft the bomb, and with a Minecraft rail system, we head our way up to the surface. Here we reunite with Ellegaard and Magnus, where the mobs are exhibiting some weird behavior as they're running away from the Witherstorm. So we yoink either Ellegaard or Magnus's armor, and now we have to set down a crafting table to build that bomb. After crafting it, we feed it to the Witherstorm, and just like that, we did it, boys. We killed the Witherstorm. But wait, there's still like half the video remaining. That's because we didn't destroy the command block in the Witherstorm. So technically, this tank of a Wither is still alive and well. Before we get killed by the Witherstorm, Gabriel saves our life, but it's now that we learn that Gabriel has amnesia and doesn't remember anything about his identity anymore. Seeing that the Witherstorm is still going crazy, Jesse and the guys get on a horse and try and escape the impact of the damage. We see that the Endermen are trying to slow it down a little, but we have no time to waste and we end up escaping to a nearby cavern. Gabriel and Petra are still feeling a little bit odd, and Soren is outside upset that his plan didn't work out, and Lucas wants to go out to see if he can save his friends. On the outside, Soren and Ivor are fighting. Ivor has been actually following us, not that he really has a choice, as he tells us something very important. Apparently the Witherstorm is programmed to track the amulet at all times, initially to follow Gabriel, but since we have it, it's following us. However, we now know that Enderman can actually destroy the Witherstorm, and Ivor says that using enchanted weapons can also disable the command block. However, to get the enchanted books, we have to go to Ivor's lab, which is quite literally in the middle of nowhere. How far? Well, it's in the far lands, so as far as it gets. So we give Axel the amulet to stall the Witherstorm and then travel for a really long time, and eventually we make it to the far lands. After navigating a maze and making a redstone flying machine, we end up making it to Ivor's base. We craft a lever that leads us down a secret room with treasures like Prismarine and the Dragon Egg, and we use those treasures to open a secret door where we find our enchanted book. However, there's some weird end crystals here. What's that about? Well, it turns out that the Order of the Stone lied about killing the Ender Dragon. If they truthfully killed the Ender Dragon, the End Crystals would be destroyed. Rather, they used a command block to vanish the Ender Dragon altogether. This is revealed to be the reason that Ivor left in the first place, and once Ivor returns to his base, he confirms this. Him spawning in a Wither was to prove that the Order wasn't actually heroes, rather they were mere fakes. However, there's no time to debate because, you remember the crazy Wither, Ivor leads us to some armory where we can craft a diamond weapon, which we enchant, and Ivor even takes us clothing shopping and drips us out in some new armor. With that done, it's finally time to destroy the Wither Storm. We head back to the main area where we meet up with everyone, and after giving Axel our used plastic bag for a helmet, we get the hardest line ever from Jesse.
Let's go kick some command block butt.
I have chills. Soren actually ends up pissing himself and running away, so it's all us now. Our strategy is this. Our goal is to piss off as much Endermen as possible, and those Endermen get sucked into the beam, and they start ripping the Witherstorm to shreds. We finally have a sizable hole to enter the Witherstorm, so we make a rocket that takes us to the Witherstorm. We get inside of the rocket, and Ruben apparently really likes roller coasters, so he hops in too. Here we are, inside of the Witherstorm. We're met with this dystopian world with a lot of withered civilians. We eventually make our way to the command block terminal. If we strike the command block, the tentacles surrounding it get pissed off. So we cut the tentacles, and after 2 strikes, it shifts places. All we need to do is just strike it one more time, and it's finished for good. We use the beams to float up here, and we get our sword knocked out of our hands, but Ruben does some elite parkour and makes his way up there with the sword. But he nearly gets turned into dinner, and then promptly falls down into a gaping hole, actually becoming dinner. This is bad, but we still have a job to do. With one more strike, we destroy the command block for good. Luckily, we fall in some water to see our friends Olivia and Axel, but it's then that we see Ruben. Unfortunately for him, he wasn't lucky to fall in water. This is a scene that shattered the hearts of every Minecraft player. Top 10 saddest anime deaths. Don't laugh. This is not funny. Don't laugh, alright? Okay, can you seriously blame me? They turned him into a pork chop. What's he gonna do next? Put it into a furnace and eat it? But besides that, we saved the world. Ruben gets a memorial, Petra is cured from her sickness, and the truth is revealed about the Order. But because we saved the world, we're the new Order of the Stone. Axel, Olivia, us, Petra, for some reason Lucas is excluded from this, but just like that, the world is safe. So we're back to some more adventures, and these days we're just exploring for treasure. We find this jungle temple, and after sifting around in it, we find a room with chests in it. In here we find some weird kind of enchanted flint and steel. If we strike it, it creates some weird blue flames. So we plan to go to Ivor to figure out what this might be. On the way there, we encounter Lucas's friends who ditched Lucas and made their own shitty biker gang, the Blaze Rods. We basically threaten their life and they leave us alone. We ask Ivor about this and he seems to be very excited. Apparently this flint and steel is from some ancient builder long ago, and it leads to something called the eversource, which is an object that can give endless amounts of precious treasure. The portal is located near the temple we were at earlier, so once we go back there we light it up. But remember those other weird gang guys, the Blaze Rods? They end up jumping in first, so the 4 of us have to enter the portal to chase after them. Welcome to the Aether, or at least the wannabe Aether. We see no sign of the Blaze Rods, however we do see this. This is Sky City. Like any other city, it comes with some rules like no unauthorized building, so naturally, like good citizens, we break that rule and immediately start playing Bed Wars to bridge over to the city. We find this fella named Milo, but as we're asking about the Blaze Rods, an emergency meeting happens. Issa, the founder of the city, finds out that an illegal bridge was built towards the island, and the Blaze Rods kinda tipped off the founder about this and now are trying to get us in jail by snitching on us to the authorities. We get caught and we chat with the founder for a little bit about how we're actually not criminals, but even so, she throws us in prison. So now we're basically stuck behind bars, but our guy Reginald over here, absolute Giga Chad, lets us go scot-free to stop the Blaze Rods. The whole squad meets up in the throne room because there's a secret room where the eversource is located. So we open up that secret door and we end up finding that the eversource, whatever it is, creates spawn eggs? Regardless, we open the door and we end up finding out that the eversource is a chicken and it shits out spawn eggs. Whatever it is, we end up getting caught with the chicken in our hands. But as we're exposing Aiden comes clean. He reveals his intent to steal the egg, and he actually launches us, both Issa and us, down into the map, straight into the void. But it turns out there actually is land underneath the Sky Island, it's just that no one has ever gone down here. However, as we look towards the sky above us, we see that mobs are practically raining from the sky, which indicates that all hell is being set loose up there. So we mine a lot of blocks, which conveniently reveals our way out of here, and Lucas stays down here because he's injured. And with the blocks we have, we tower our way back up to the Sky Island. When we get back up here, we see that Aiden is basically on a spawning spree. We meet up with Ivor again, and our goal is to basically get back to the throne room where Aiden is. So Ivor gives us performance enhancing drugs for the fight, and we find Aiden again. He thinks that he can kill us, but little does he know that we possess the power of drugs. So we do an epic 1v1 in the rain. Of course, we win the fight. His sword falls off the map, and he surrenders like a little baby boy. We get our flint and steel back, and we take Aiden with us for the time being. The city is far too dangerous to kill all of the mobs, so everyone YOLOs their way off the island into the waterfall and makes it down to safety. Aiden and his boys are arrested formally, and finally, we can head back home. We go back to the portal room, light it up, and... oh. Instead of home, we find ourselves in a portal room with dozens upon dozens of portals. Upon entering one of the portals, we end up in this dank graveyard area, and upon arriving at the cemetery, naturally the first thing to do is to go grave digging, looking for books. Which is exactly what we find on one of the graves. Apparently this book is an invitation to meet at a mansion for an evening of food and festivity. Now, I don't know who this guy is trying to invite, but regardless, no one can argue with free food. So Jesse and the gang accept the invitation, and we see a large mansion in the distance. Like good guests, we break through the kitchen window, and we find ourselves in a massive mansion. But it gets a little bit weird when we hear a few voices at the other side of the kitchen door, and all of a sudden...
Alright, what's going on, dudes, and welcome back to Minecraft.
What the fuck? Anyway, we see a couple of familiar faces, Captain Sparkles and this other guy. All we know about him is that his name is TorqueDog, which happens to take the cake for the worst fucking gamer tag ever. We have a lovely conversation before all of a sudden the lights cut out and someone happens to play a cool prank on TorqueDog, effectively killing him. Fly high, brother, but I'm just happy that I don't have to say your name again.
Jesse, come here. You've got a girl's name.
You know what? I actually kind of like this guy now. Anyway, because of his death, we are introduced to another oddly familiar face, LD Shadow Lady, who happens to invite us to a room where we meet, just some other small YouTubers, and this other weird lady who definitely isn't a YouTuber from my childhood, Cassie Rose, and her pet Calico Cat. We reveal to the rest of the cast that TorqueDog is now dead, and we learn that he was in search of finding the enchanted flint and steel that we hold in our hands. So, as we're talking, the lights cut out again, and surprise surprise, now Captain Sparkles is dead. When the light cuts back on, we see that some mysterious figure wearing a white pumpkin who tells us that they're seeking the said enchanted flint and steel, and they know one of us has it, and they won't stop until it's theirs. The figure there happens just to be an armor stand, and the voice was actually a recording, so we can't use who was missing to find the suspect. Based on where there was a button to trigger the trap, we have a few suspects here. DanTDM, LD Shadow Lady, Stampy, and Lucas. So now we have to interrogate them all one by one. Regardless of our interrogation, each one of their stories contradicts each other, so we can't really suspect anyone just yet. While investigating, we happen to see a painting, so naturally, like any kind guest, we Mike Tyson it. And there happens to be a secret tunnel behind that wall, which leads us to secret areas that the white pumpkin can navigate without being seen. After navigating this tunnel system, we find a library where we catch the white pumpkin red-handed trying to kill either DanTDM or LD Shadow Lady with spiders. As we 1v1, one of our fellow suspects ends up dying. So we do our best impression of Minecraft Manhunt, and White Pumpkin pulls out a dream 200 IQ play and places a spare White Pumpkin head on Lucas, which gives them a window long enough to escape. It's at this point the clock is ticking, so we decide to go with Petra to a basement portion of the mansion through the secret entrance and find some interesting goodies like an item transport system, a White Pumpkin farm, I think those are expired by the way, and a central hub, where the White Pumpkin conducts studies on potions and has many chests. But you know what there also is a lot of? Calico cats. If you remember earlier, I said that Cassie Rose has a pet cat. Well, pay attention to the kind of cats that are in this area. They are all calico cats, and you know who else has a cat? Cassie Rose, which gives us a massive lead. Cassie Rose seems to be the most likely suspect, and the story would make sense, so we ace attorney the hell out of her and force a confession from her. She does confess that she was the one who committed the crimes, but that's because she wanted to leave the realm she's in. When she realized someone had found the enchanted flint and steel, she coaxed us into this belief of friendship to find out which one of us had it, and now she wants to kill us right here and right now. However, she falls into a trap of her own creation, suffocating her and making her presumed to be dead. But for now, we have to get everyone out, which is what we do, splitting our own ways with the YouTubers who go through a convenient portal. Ah, finally, away from crazy serial killers at last. Let's just go through the portal and... Yep, here we are again. It's about now that I realize that every serial killer has nothing on Cassie Rose. She brings us to some ditch with endermites at the bottom and tells us to drop the flint and steel. But guess what? We dropped it somewhere when we fell and we have no idea where it is. She decides, nope, I'm gonna kill these guys, and activates a death trap, but luckily with an ender pearl we MLG our way to safety. We have this crazy 1v1 with Cassie, and as she grabs the flint and steel, we pull a 200 IQ play on her, effectively taking back what's ours and throwing her back in her own trap, keeping her here forever. So it's about time that we finally head back home, and once we enter the portal, we are definitely not home. As a matter of fact, we're practically in the middle of nowhere right now, and we follow a little road to find some civilization. However, what we happen to find is a bit more peculiar. We see a zombie with some Neuralink shit in his head, and if you've ever played the game before, it should be set on fire right about now because it's daytime. It seems like these zombies are actually kind of leading us somewhere, so we end up following it and we find this weird civilization. It seems barren and desolate, but we see somebody, so we end up trying to talk to them, but like the zombies, they're controlled by this Neuralink thing and they don't seem to be very social. We see someone dash into a house, not controlled by that Neuralink thing, so we go inside to question them, and they claim that the citizens of this area are being controlled by some organization called PAMA, and before long we end up getting our wish to finding out what PAMA is because it's actually a robot and it claims that it will make us useful. PAMA is really like a person. It uses redstone to control the citizens of this Crown Mesa town to make them, again, useful. PAMA concludes that we're not from here, and it reveals its goal of basically sending townspeople to the other realms to spread. Regardless of what we say, the robot ends up controlling Petra and Lucas. PAMA, however, needs some time to process the info from Petra and Lucas, so we decide to confuse the robot by giving it a logical puzzle that is paradoxical in nature. We are able to confuse it long enough to escape, and we learn that the lady we saw earlier apparently created this machine, so we take the window to escape with Ivor. We go to our secret base, and we find out that water short-circuits these chips. We find out also that her name is Harper, and apparently she is an old builder that built part of the portal system. We learn from Harper that the portal system out of this place is actually destroyed to prevent PAMA's escape, and we learn that PAMA was made to use monsters to make things like farming and mining more efficient, and it wasn't long until PAMA grew a mind of its own and wanted to make the townspeople more efficient. As we're trying to enter Harper's lab, we see many intricate designs that involve water, but before we can all enter, we see Lucas and Petra, controlled by PAMA, trying to stop us. So after playing Ring Around the Rosie, we do the ALS Ice Bucket Challenge on Petra, successfully unchipping her, but Lucas takes Harper away, and the last thing we're told is to give a rose to someone named Harry. That's kind of a weird thing to say, but after rummaging around in her lab, we figure out a couple things. When Harper said to give a rose to Harry, she basically was talking about these little figures over here. If we place an item inside of the item frame, depending on what it is, it activates a circuit. Enough of these circuits activates a circuit which controls a headset. So we put this MetaQuest looking thing on, and using this headset, we can control things hooked to PAMA and switch between them. We basically are able to migrate through different mobs, and we make our way to Harper just to stop her enough to hear about what we need to do to stop PAMA, and that's to destroy the redstone heart at PAMA Central Core. However, our little migration ship is destroyed now, so we're gonna have to do this the old-fashioned way. We grab 2 buckets of water from Harper's base to create an infinite water source and stealthily make our way back to the town. Once we're up here, we take some of Ivor's drugs and lay down some TNT to Oppenheimer the hell out of these zombies. The portal out of here is currently being built, and we're surrounded with more mobs, so Petra and Ivor are here to hold them down while we destroy PAMA. As we make it to PAMA Central Core, we almost get stopped by Lucas and Harper, but eventually, after an epic 1v1 and near death, we're able to climb over Lucas and hear PAMA beg before ripping PAMA's heart out completely, successfully saving Lucas. So now the town is free from PAMA, but they still kind of don't like Harper for making this thing in the first place, so she comes with us outside of the portal. Because she's an old builder, she knows of something called the Atlas, and the answer to all of our questions about how to get home lies just above these stairs. Alright, here's the final chapter, the end game. We walk up the stairs to this weird starry area, and we're just having a wholesome conversation talking about old builders and Harper's past, and we're getting a little bit suspicious as Harper seems to be hiding something, and we figure out exactly what she's been hiding when we get pushed down into an active game of Spleef, and we're surrounded by a bunch of color-coded teams. We're kind of lost on what to do, but before long, we have to make a decision on who to save, either Ivor or Petra. In this case, I'm going to assume that you save Petra here. Why do I say that? Well, because this happens. Whoever we choose to save results in the other two characters dying off, at least for now, so in our anime rage, we end up pulling out our sword, which according to the rules of Spleef is illegal. So we meet the rest of these old builders, and this guy in the purple, Hadrian, and his cronies angrily start speed bridging towards us. It turns out that Ivor and Lucas aren't dead. Whenever you quote-unquote die in these games, you respawn and are forced to work in mines. Long story short, they're still alive. We ask if we can just get the Atlas and go out, but we're gonna need to give them something, so we claim that we'll give them our redstone heart if we get out of here with the Atlas. Instead, they give us an ultimatum. We play in their games, basically a weird Olympics, and if we do, we'll get the Atlas free of charge. If we lose, we'll all go to the mines. So since we're competing, we're making our way towards the competitor's village where we'll be staying, and we see all sorts of people complaining. Apparently, these guys don't make good on their promises, but there's still light at the end of the tunnel for a lot of these competitors as we hear about a legend named Tim, who is basically like the LeBron James of these Minecraft competitions. Tim aside, we end up reuniting with Ivor and Lucas and basically get ready for the next night where we'll be performing a race. We make a little truce with the green team because they actually also want to beat Hadrian. So with a truce in hand, we begin our race and we dodge many obstacles. Some buffoons try to snipe us while running and automatically realize that they're not the main character of the story. But as we're nearing the end of the race, the green team actually ends up snaking us. Because of this, they actually end up winning the race, but we end up still surviving and take second place. Now, a good question to ask is, why did the green team snake us? Well, that's because they double-crossed and made a deal with Hadrian, the purple guy, to forcefully eliminate us, but we're still alive and well. Hadrian also reveals that this Tim guy is just a fake made-up myth to give people hope that they'll actually make it out of these games when in reality they won't. Hadrian just wants people stuck here working in the mines for him endlessly in this loop of playing these games. So he changes the conditions of the contract again. He reveals that Olivia and Axel are actually stuck behind bars in this prison and use the Atlas to find them. If Jesse wins, Olivia and Axel stay here and work in the mines forever, and if we do as he says and lose the games intentionally, all of our friends will leave, but we will have to stay behind in their place working in the mines. We inform everyone that the games are rigged, which brings everyone to our side, and we rest for the final day of competition. The final game is the walls. Basically, we're separated into 4 sections, each with a different biome theme, and once the walls drop, we have to 1v1 each other with the resources we gathered from our area. As you can see, there's a slight discrepancy between our chunks and the others, but that's just a product of Hadrian. But this is for all the marbles, so we gotta work with what we got. All we can really do is collect dirt at this stage, so now it's time to see if our speech worked once the walls drop. The green team sizes us up, but before they can kill us, it seems that our speech worked. They hand us the sword and everyone chips in together to outnumber the gladiators. However, we're able to talk no jutsu these guys as well into entering our side. By default, this means that the gladiators surrender, meaning that everyone technically wins. Finally, we can go home. As Otto's about to give us the Atlas, he actually ends up getting boxed like a fish by Hadrian and his crony Mevia. Hadrian tells us to give over the redstone heart right now or he'll just trap us here forever, and since we're doing things the hard way, he ends up boxing the rest of the teams like fishes as well, and now it's just us and him. Even for a seasoned PvPer such as ourselves, we're outmatched by them, and just like that, we're eliminated. The redstone heart back into possession of the owners. Well, we lost, I guess we're stuck here forever, is what I would say, but then I remembered that we had plot armor. All of a sudden, all of our friends are here and they are ready to help us win this fight. Using the power of friendship and stealing, we're able to get Tim's armor and a couple of other goodies from Hadrian's armor room. That's right boys, we are Tim now. So we leave the area with our new gear to face off against them one last time. They make a silly attempt to try and box us in like a fish, but guess what? We know how basic Minecraft works and dig our way out with our diamond pickaxe. We are now able to send that silly woman into her much needed death. So now there's only one to go. So we 1v1 on an obsidian bridge and we spleef the hell out of Hadrian, sending him to God knows where. And just like that, we won. Otto comes back and after questioning his choices and friends, gives us the Atlas, our ticket home, whilst Hadrian and Mevia get savagely mauled. We send everyone off back to their respective worlds and we ask the Atlas to take us home. Once we enter the portal, we're back to where we belong. We place all of our goodies in our trophy room, Ivor runs off to do his own thing, and just like that, I can finally stop watching this 12-hour long play. Ah, finally. The end of this entire franchise. You've got to be kidding.